Behind a shimmering veil, a voice filled with contempt seethes, naming Luo Yu as the descendant of a deity and the traitor of his family. In a hazy vision, a woman with dark hair embraces a long-haired elf, whispering that he's come back to her. She dismisses the so-called ice princess as nothing more than a tramp, a mere toy, before pulling him into a passionate kiss. The vision shatters as a woman in the present day jolts awake in her bed, clutching her chest, haunted by the same dream again. Her heart aches with the memory of betrayal, a betrayal carried out by a man she loved, and a cruel twist of fate where the traitorous woman in the dream looked exactly like her. As rain falls outside, she looks into the mirror, the words Ice Princess echoing in her mind. And for a fleeting moment, she sees the reflection of an elven princess in golden armor staring back. Meanwhile, in the middle of a bustling city, onlookers gossip about a strange sight. A child has seemingly been abandoned, dressed in rags, and they wonder what to do with him. The child Luo Yu snaps awake, shocked to find himself surrounded by giants. A wave of horror washes over him as he realizes he's been turned into a child, his demonic powers completely gone. He panics, but then a familiar scent cuts through his confusion. His eyes land on the woman from his dream, standing in the crowd. Overwhelmed with joy and relief, he recognizes her instantly as his princess, the ice princess he has finally found. The woman, however, is merely confused. She's startled when the strange, half-naked child runs towards her, shouting princess. Mortified by the staring crowd, she insists she doesn't know him, but Luo Yu clings to her, begging his princess to return with him to the demon world. Seeing his pitiful state, she softens, patting his head and telling him he's mistaken her for someone else before offering to take him to the police station. As she leads him away, Luo Yu is certain she smells just like the princess, and he vows to stay by her side to discover if she is truly her reincarnation. At the police station, the scene is chaotic, filled with crying, lost children. Luo Yu, now in some temporary clothes, stands quietly by her side. She approaches an officer to report the lost child, but just as she's about to hand him over, Luo Yu makes his move. With tears streaming down his face, he grabs her leg and calls her mommy, sobbing that he knows he was wrong and won't make her angry again. The woman and the officer are stunned into silence. She frantically tries to explain that it's a misunderstanding, but the officer, already fed up, scolds her for frightening her child in a police station and tells them to leave. Having no other choice, she grabs Luo Yu and makes a hasty exit. Standing on a rooftop overlooking the city at sunset, she confronts the child. She tells him plainly that she is not his princess and that she was only trying to help him. Luo Yu's eyes well up with tears as he begs her not to leave, promising he'll do anything she asks. She tries to steal her heart, convinced he's just acting. She tells him his name is Luo Yu and that only the police can find his mother, then turns to leave, walking away without a second glance. As she disappears, Luo Yu's vision blurs, superimposing the image of the ice princess turning her back on him in that final, devastating moment of betrayal, leaving him utterly alone once more. A dream of desperation haunts Luo Yu as he runs in his child form, screaming for her not to leave him again, only to stumble and fall hard on the unforgiving ground. The nightmare shifts to a memory of bitter betrayal, where an older Luo Yu stands accused by a radiant princess of stealing the clan's treasure. He pleads with her, insisting there's an explanation, but her eyes are cold steel. She declares herself his queen, vowing to never trust his words again as she summons a divine spear of light. He desperately calls upon an ice formation for defense, but she unleashes a storm of fire flames to destroy him. And the last glimmer of hope in his eyes dies as he accepts that she truly doesn't believe him. A violet explosion consumes everything. Back in the present, Chu Yao clutches her chest, feeling a strange and familiar pain as she stares at the boy. Luo Yu lies on the floor, tears streaming down his face as he asks why she confuses him with that cruel princess. Deciding he's too much of a problem to abandon, she scoops him into her arms, ignoring the whispers of onlookers judging her parenting skills. The scene shifts to a dark, desolate forest where the adult Luo Yu slumps against a tree, bleeding and broken. A seductive woman with crimson hair appears, mocking his devotion to the princess who wounded him and suggesting he stay with her instead. He snarls for her to go away, but she smirks, telling him his soul is so damaged he's practically immortal and couldn't possibly harm her. But as she reaches for his face, his eyes flash with a ferocious, untamed power, unleashing a shockwave that throws her back. He growls that if he were to change his mind, it would mean her death. As his energy erupts, the contract seal on his chest vanishes, replaced by a heartbreaking vision of his princess floating lifelessly in a sea of light. Forcing a final scream of anguish from his lips, Luo Yu jolts awake in the passenger seat of a car, immense relief washing over him as he sees Chu Yao, thanking his princess for not abandoning him. She corrects him with a sharp tone, stating her name is Chu Yao and threatening to kick him out of the car if he calls her princess again. Luo Yu is utterly bewildered, marveling at the strange moving metal box and the dazzling cityscape of this new world. They arrive at her enormous house, and she welcomes him inside, explaining that she lives alone. Announcing that he's dirty and needs a bath, she points him towards a bathroom with hot water and fresh clothes already prepared. The tiny boy struggles to get into the tub, prompting Chu Yao to suggest they bathe together for convenience. She starts to undress, and Luo Yu erupts in frantic protest, insisting he can manage by himself and ordering her to stay away. She ignores his flustered cries, effortlessly scooping him up and placing him in the warm water. The close proximity is too much for his overwhelmed system, and he gets a sudden nosebleed. Mortified, he lashes out, yelling that she stinks and he can't possibly bathe with her. Her sweet expression darkens instantly as she promises to wash his hair very intensely now, causing him to immediately apologize and beg for mercy. The tension breaks, and soon she's gently washing his hair, both of them covered in a mountain of soap bubbles. Later, tucked into a cozy bed, she wishes him good night. After she leaves, he quietly whispers sweet dreams to the closed door. A mysterious voice calls out to the princess, a long-haired elf leaning over her bed, whispering that he's finally found her. He pleads with her never to leave him again, begging her to go back with him. Lost in a dreamy haze, she can barely comprehend his words before he leans in, his lips pressing against hers in a sudden, breathtaking kiss. The sensation steals the air from her lungs, her eyes widening in shock just as she jolts awake. Heart pounding, Chu Yao sits up, gasping at the vividness of the dream, only to be even more stunned to find Luo Yu sleeping soundly beside her in bed. She demands to know what he's doing there, and he sleepily explains that he was scared of the storm raging outside the window. Seeing the lightning flash, Chu Yao's irritation softens into pity. She tells him not to be afraid and pulls him close to comfort him, promising she's there. Luo Yu murmurs that as long as he's with her, he isn't afraid of anything. The next morning, Chu Yao decides to test out a ridiculously elaborate summoning chant she saw in an anime, commanding Luo Yu's body to respond to her will as his master. Luo Yu just stares back, utterly bewildered by the bizarre speech. Chu Yao laughs it off, saying she was just messing with him, and ruffles his hair before inviting him for breakfast. But as she reaches for him, Luo Yu suddenly grabs her hand. A brilliant blue magic circle erupts around them as he solemnly swears to be her servant and guardian, vowing to protect her from her fate until the end of his life. Chu Yao panics, telling him to wait, but it's too late. The contract is complete, leaving a glowing red mark on the back of her hand. She furiously tells him not to establish a contract so casually when she hasn't agreed to anything. Luo Yu calmly explains that because of their newfound relationship, he's recovered some of his demonic power and decided to form a unilateral contract with her. He promises to protect her from all harm and will come to her aid whenever she calls his name in her heart. A sudden realization dawns on Chu Yao, and she angrily grabs his ear, demanding to know why he lied about being afraid of thunder if he's so powerful. He whimpers in pain, apologizing for the lie as she furiously demands to know his true intentions. He quickly explains that he doesn't know why, but being near her restores his demonic power, and the contract was formed because he rested beside her all night. Before she can process his fishy explanation, the doorbell rings insistently, interrupting the interrogation. At the door is her friend Zhang Yu, who complains about the lack of maids, only for Chu Yao to tease him about his foul mouth. Zhang Yu's eyes immediately fall on the little boy hiding behind Chu Yao's legs. Flustered, Chu Yao quickly lies that Luo Yu is the child of a distant relative. Just then, Zhang Yu's bubbly sister, Zhang Mengmeng, arrives and tackles Chu Yao in a hug, immediately spotting the cute little boy. Mengmeng is instantly smitten with Luo Yu, declaring him 1,000 times better than her stupid brother. She notices his plain clothes and immediately calls to have several sets of high-end children's clothing delivered on the spot. Minutes later, butlers arrive with boxes of luxury outfits. Luo Yu, however, shies away, insisting that he only wants Yao Yao to help him change. Annoyed, Zhang Yu declares he's had enough chit-chat and snatches Luo Yu up, intent on changing him himself while the boy struggles and protests. Zhang Yu's patience has worn thin as he confronts Luo Yu, grabbing his shirt and demanding to know his real purpose for getting close to Chu Yao, calling him a demon. Luo Yu feigns confusion, asking how he could possibly be a demon, but Zhang Yu sees right through the act, insisting he can tell just by looking at him. Suddenly, a small girl barrels into the room, accusing Zhang Yu of being a bad guy for bullying her dear Luo Yu. Zhang Yu shoves the purple-haired boy away with a cold glare. The girl rushes to Luo Yu's side, scolding Zhang Yu for being too rough with a child, but he dismisses her concerns, stating that the boy won't die and shouldn't be coddled. She wonders if her stupid brother is just jealous. The argument is soon forgotten as they prepare for a trip to a Japanese onsen, with the girls excitedly dressing up a reluctant Luo Yu in a cute detective outfit. They arrive at their destination, a secluded inn that they've rented out completely for privacy. During dinner, the suggestion of bathing together sends Zhang Yu into a flustered rage, though Luo Yu seems equally flustered by the idea. Ignoring his protests, the blonde girl declares it's decided, prompting Zhang Yu to grab Luo Yu, grimly stating that the little devil is coming with him. The girls watch them leave, musing that their relationship is progressing quickly through some male bonding. Inside the bathhouse, Luo Yu tries to bolt, but Zhang Yu corners him, sensing he's hiding something. Luo Yu panics, wondering how he found out just as Zhang Yu begins to untie his robe. The boy shrieks for him to wait and not take his clothes off, but Zhang Yu scoffs, clarifying he has no interest and is simply preparing for his bath. Their confrontation is shattered by a frantic scream from outside, a voice crying that Chu Yao has been taken away by men in black. A wave of shock and horror washes over both of their faces. They burst out of the room to find a scene of carnage, with guards strewn across the floor and the other girl collapsed in fear. Miles away, the kidnappers make their escape across a suspension bridge, one cocky man holding an unconscious Chu Yao while another with broccoli-like hair carries the little girl. The red-haired man boasts about their success, but his partner urges him to hurry. As their helicopter approaches, the broccoli-haired man carelessly throws Chu Yao to the ground. Pretending to be limp, she suddenly explodes into action, jabbing him repeatedly. But her blows are too weak to do any real damage. He mocks her feeble attempt until she seizes his arm and yanks with all her might. He lets out a shriek of pain and humiliation as she tears off his prized wig. Absolutely livid, the now bald man furiously throws her down again, sneering that with the bridge out, she has nowhere to run. He seizes her by the throat, promising to deliver her punishment. As she struggles for breath, begging for help, a sinister black energy suddenly erupts from her hand, engulfing his. He howls in agony as the dark power burns his flesh. And in the chaos, Chu Yao pushes him away, but loses her own footing and tragically falls over the cliff's edge. As the kidnappers panic about having to explain this to their boss, an unimaginable rage explodes behind them. Luo Yu's form shifts, his eyes glowing with demonic power as he vows to kill them both. He roars that his transformation is unforgivable and that anyone who dares to hurt his ice princess must die. Swirling tendrils of dark energy lash out as he condemns them as disgusting maggots, unfit to exist in this plane. With his power fully unleashed, he begins a terrifying incantation, calling upon an ancient dragon from the bowels of hell. A massive demonic creature, the abyssal dragon Kagurdisus, bursts forth from a magic circle, its glowing eyes fixed on the two terrified men as it answers its master's call. With a voice colder than the night sky, Luo Yu stands atop his colossal dragon and gives a single, chilling command. Eliminate them. The beast roars in response, unleashing a torrent of arcane energy that utterly vaporizes the men cowering on the cliffside. A nearby helicopter pilot screams in terror, trying to turn the aircraft around, but it's too late. Luo Yu's golden eyes have already locked onto their new target. He whispers the dragon's name, Kaga, and the creature unleashes a second, more powerful beam straight from its maw, blowing the helicopter out of the sky in a spectacular explosion. With the immediate threats dealt with, the dragon turns to its master, asking for its next wish. Luo Yu simply orders it to take them to the bottom of the cliff. His companions protest, worried about Chu Yao, but Luo Yu's command is absolute. The dragon obeys without question, plunging into the abyss below. As they dive, one of his friends screams about the terrifying method of travel while Luo Yu laughs, finding the freefall exhilarating. Meanwhile, unseen observers comment on the spectacle, noting that Luo Yu summoned a dragon despite his weakened state, calling it fitting for the injured demonic god of war. One of them remarks with disdain that Luo Yu could have ruled the entire demon world but threw it all away for a demon princess, making himself an enemy to all his kind. As the group descends the chasm, Kaga voices its concern, telling its master that he is seriously injured and using his demonic powers will have severe repercussions. Luo Yu coolly dismisses the warning, assuring his guardian that he has no intention of dying anytime soon. As they approach the bottom, Kaga is horrified to see a triple guardian enchantment, a massive crystalline barrier, realizing Luo Yu has recklessly poured his remaining energy into ensuring the princess's safe landing. Luo Yu explains that he could smell other demons nearby and would not allow anything to happen to the Frost Princess. After a rough landing that kicks up a cloud of dust, Luo Yu stumbles, his body finally faltering under the strain. Kaga offers to help break the seal, but he refuses, claiming it is nothing. He places a hand on the crystal, releasing the seal with a surge of dark power. And the barrier cracks and shatters into countless fragments. As the woman inside, Fu Shuang, drifts down, Luo Yu catches her in a desperate embrace, whispering that fate brought them together again and he will never let her go, regardless of whether she remembers or hates him. His tender reunion is cut short as blood drips from his mouth onto her shoulder, a horrifying sign of his true condition. Kaga cries out in alarm, explaining that Luo Yu's body is so badly injured it must now transform to repair itself, leaving him too weak to maintain his adult form. As the dragon vanishes, Luo Yu's body shrinks, reverting to that of a small child before he collapses unconscious. His friends rush to his side, deciding they must find a safe place to tend to his wounds. They carry the two through a dark, eerie forest, their hope dwindling until they spot the faint glow of a house in the distance. They approach the strange cabin and knock, but the door is opened by a withered old man who harshly tells them to leave. Desperate, they beg for help, explaining their friend is gravely injured. The old man stares with unsettling eyes before silently gesturing for them to come inside. After finding temporary refuge, an old man shoves the group into a cramped closet, giving them a stark warning not to wander around at night, or he won't be responsible for the consequences. Inside, the young boy watches over the unconscious Liu Yu, unable to tell how severe his injuries truly are. Nearby, Chu Yao reflects on Liu Yu's surprising power but forces her thoughts away from the past, trying to convince herself that she is Chu Yao, not the person she once was, Fu Shuang. But sleep offers no escape, plunging her into a nightmare where a voice declares he has finally found his Fu Shuang and will never let her go again, even if she hates him. Her dream shatters as another man appears, a cruel manipulator from her past, whispering doubts about whether she could truly believe Liu Yu's lies. The dream shifts, becoming a trial of her past life as the manipulator reminds her of the ultimate betrayal. How she doomed her own people by saving a man she thought was a wounded soldier. This man, he reveals, was a ploy to uncover the secret of her clan's sacred artifact, a treasure of ice with the power to resurrect the dead. As she had been played for a fool. For the man she saved was no mere soldier but the supreme ruler of the infernals, and he brought his entire army to annihilate her clan and steal their power. The memories flood back in a tide of blood and ice, the slaughter of her friends and family, all because of her single mistake. Her guilt manifests as the tortured souls of her people rise from their graves, their hands clawing at her, their voices screaming, asking why she let them die so miserably. They drag her down into the abyss, demanding she never forgive the one who caused their suffering and to send him to hell. Back in the waking world, Liu Yu's eyes snap open, a surge of dread coursing through him as he realizes Chu Yao is in mortal danger. He recognizes the work of a dream demon, an entity that will consume everyone if left unchecked. With barely enough power to act, he makes a choice. He must enter Chu Yao's dream alone and save her no matter the cost. He plunges into her nightmare, calling her name, only to find her soul being devoured by the demon's influence. He pleads with her, trying to break the illusion, warning her that she will die if she succumbs to the demon's control. But his words are met with cold fury as sharp pillars of ice erupt from the ground, impaling him through the chest. As he stares in shocked agony, Chu Yao's eyes burn with a murderous red light, her mind consumed by a single terrifying command: die. The dream is a storm of cold fury, where Chu Yao, consumed by a false identity, vows that she will not forgive the traitor who betrayed her people. With icy resolve, she unleashes a torrent of sharp crystals, screaming that Liu Yu must die for his crimes. The shards pierce his body, but he rips himself free, his face a mask of pain and utter confusion. She promises he won't be waking up alive, preparing another deadly assault. As he collapses, coughing up blood, a sinister shadow entity watches from the periphery, reveling in the chaos and feeding on their hatred, whispering that it needs just a little more to fully recover. Impaled and bleeding, Liu Yu confronts her, vehemently denying he is a traitor and desperately asking what the dream demon showed her. With a raw surge of power, he shatters the ice prison binding him, an act that leaves her completely stunned. She can't comprehend how he broke free so easily. He dashes toward her, and in a moment of panic, she erects a frost shield, begging him to stay away. Her defense is useless. He places a single hand on the barrier and it cracks before exploding into a million pieces. He seizes her, his eyes boring into hers as he demands to know how he could have possibly betrayed her. Her rage erupts as she calls him an ungrateful liar, accusing him of robbing her family, slaughtering her people, and callously embracing another woman. Seeing no other way to shatter the illusion, Liu Yu pulls her into a sudden, desperate kiss. Through their connection, he insists he never betrayed her, that her family is not dead, and that she is his one and only treasure, pleading for the woman he knows as Fu Shuang to wake up. Reality snaps back into focus, and Chu Yao jolts awake in a bed, completely disoriented. Liu Yu explains that after she fell from the cliff, she was nearly consumed by a dream demon. The others begin to stir, screaming from the terrors of their own nightmares. They find themselves in a dark, skull-littered forest, realizing the creature had trapped all of them in its psychic web. The demon's voice booms through the trees, cursing Liu Yu for ruining its meal just as it was about to devour everyone. A horrifying creature of white hair and embedded skulls materializes before them, sending a wave of panic through the group. Liu Yu bravely steps forward, telling everyone to run while he distracts the monster, assuring them it's powerless outside its territory. He unleashes an attack, buying them precious seconds to escape, and Chu Yao glances back with deep concern as she flees. But Liu Yu is weak, and the demon swats him aside like an insect, looming over his crumpled form and declaring that the game is over. It mocks his pathetic strength and lunges for the final blow, only to be blasted back by a brilliant flash of light. The creature dissipates into nothingness, shocked by the sudden power. Liu Yu looks up to see Chu Yao standing over him, asking if he's okay. He is stunned, realizing in that moment that she's recovered her magical powers. But her expression is as cold as the ice in her dream. She says she remembers everything now, accusing him of deceiving her by taking a child's form just to investigate if she was the woman he was looking for. She knows who he is, Liu Yu, the supreme ruler of the Infernals and the lover of Princess Fu Shuang. Then she delivers the final, crushing blow, stating that Fu Shuang is already dead. She declares that her name is Chu Yao and she doesn't need his protection. As rescue helicopters roar overhead, she tells him this is where they part ways, that they now owe each other nothing. She resolves internally that no matter what, Liu Yu will always be searching for someone else, a ghost who died in another time and another place. The scene fades to an opening ceremony where Chu Yao stands in a school uniform, ready to face a new life, utterly alone. At Haworth Business School, the air is thick with whispers about a handsome new face that has all the girls captivated. They swoon over the mysterious newcomer, agreeing he's even more attractive than the renowned senior Qin. Inside the classroom, the teacher announces a new student who has just returned from studying abroad. And as he steps through the door, a collective gasp ripples through the room. Chu Yao's eyes widen in utter shock, recognizing the man with the impossibly long purple hair. He introduces himself as Liu Yu, and his cool demeanor sends the female students into a frenzy of adoration. Chu Yao's friend teases her, noting how much Liu Yu has matured and reminding her that it was her family's influence that got him into the school in the first place. Liu Yu's intense gaze sweeps over the students before locking on a Chu Yao, causing a faint blush to creep up her neck. When the teacher tells him to find a seat, he ignores the dozens of desperate invitations from other girls and walks directly to Chu Yao's desk, asking if he can sit next to her. Panicked, she blurts out a blunt rejection, but her friend quickly smooths it over, insisting she's only joking, marking the start of a turbulent year. Later in the cafeteria, Liu Yu coldly dismisses a crowd of hopeful girls wanting to eat with him, only to be beckoned over by Chu Yao's friend. He sits with them, the silence between him and Chu Yao thick with tension. As she internally wills herself to ignore him, she hastily shoves food into her mouth and yelps as it burns her tongue. A faint smirk plays on Liu Yu's lips before a strange purple sigil flashes over her plate. He calmly explains that he cooled her food for her and before she can protest. He leans in close, takes her fork, and feeds her a piece himself. Stunned into silence, she can only watch as he coolly tells her to eat slowly. When her friend asks for the same treatment, he shuts her down with a cold refusal. From a balcony above, a blonde girl named Lai Xian and a red-haired boy observe the scene, finding the new transfer student very interesting. Suddenly, Liu Yu's head snaps up, his eyes flashing with a strange energy as he senses their stares. His gaze fixes on Lai Xian, and as she turns to leave, he murmurs a different name, Fu Chuang, wondering if he has finally found the princess he's been searching for. Elsewhere, Lai Xian meets with a smug young man named Qin Muhua who chides her for being late. She coolly informs him she was delayed by an interesting sight. The girl he's been chasing since childhood was with another man. She adds that this man, Liu Yu, makes him look weak in comparison, suggesting he's about to lose both his status and his woman. Qin's pride is clearly wounded, and he finds the idea of a mid-year transfer into Haworth suspicious. Intrigued and provoked, he stands up, declaring his meal finished and his intention to go see this Liu Yu for himself. Lai Xian smiles to herself, sensing that she set the stage for some delicious drama. Back at the table, just as Chu Yao and her friend are about to leave, Liu Yu suddenly reaches out and grabs Chu Yao's friend's arm. His expression unreadable and intense as he stops her cold. Yao Yao seethes with betrayal, muttering that he was a liar who promised never to leave her, only to walk away the moment he saw another beautiful woman. Just then, her phone buzzes with a call from her Aunt May, and the news she receives sends a wave of shock through her entire body. As she stands frozen, a figure approaches from behind, and she turns to see Qin Daji looking at her with concern. Overwhelmed, she collapses into his arms, sobbing his name as he asks what happened. He comforts her, promising to take her home as they get into his car and drive away. 3 days later at school, her friend frets over her absence, wondering why Yao Yao won't answer her phone and lamenting that Liu Yu has also vanished. Elsewhere, Liu Yu is confronted by his blonde companion, who scolds him for overexerting himself at school and sarcastically asks if he thinks he's some kind of wish-granting robot for being tasked with tracking down a woman. Ignoring the complaint, Liu Yu's focus remains absolute, even as his companion warns that Yao Yao isn't at school and that any messages to her have been blocked. As dark energy begins to kindle around Liu Yu, his companion grows frantic, shouting that he's running out of magic dust and risks turning back into a child. With a chilling glare, Liu Yu warns that if anything happens to Chu Yao, their friendship is over, before vanishing into thin air, leaving his friend exasperated. Meanwhile, at a lavish birthday party, a woman named Lai Xian thanks her guests. She pulls a rope, and to everyone's astonishment, Liu Yu descends from above in a shower of flower petals. The crowd gasps, recognizing the handsome transfer student. Before Xian can react, he pulls her into a passionate kiss, and she breathlessly asks if he's her birthday present. But the moment is shattered when he whispers a deadly threat, promising to kill her if she ever touches him like that again, his words freezing her to the core. Shoving her away, Liu Yu tries to leave, but Xian stops him, offering to reveal Chu Yao's location in exchange for a favor. His eyes narrow as he coldly agrees to listen. At that very moment in a hospital waiting room, Chu Yao receives a message. A picture of Liu Yu and Lai Xian kissing, a new layer of pain on top of her silent grief. Her world had already crumbled moments before, when the surgeon emerged from the operating room to tell her they had tried their best, but her father was gone. Back at the party, Xian propositions Liu Yu again, this time asking for a dance in exchange for information. Internally, Liu Yu is baffled. He cast a spell to find someone named Fu Shuang, yet it led him to this woman, making him wonder if she is a reincarnation. As he takes her hand, he feels a sudden surge of his dormant demonic powers, a jolt of energy that seems to emanate from her. Startled and disgusted, he violently shoves her to the ground, shocking the guests. When her father's guards rush forward to apprehend him, Liu Yu unleashes a wave of dark magic that incapacitates them all instantly. Lai Xian stares in amazement at the display of power. With his patience exhausted, Liu Yu looms over her and demands to know where Chu Yao is, his voice leaving no room for argument. Terrified, Xian finally confesses that Chu Yao's father died in a car accident and that she can be found at the Chu family home. Returning to the Chu estate is like stepping into a mausoleum for Chu Yao. The opulent chandeliers feel cold and devoid of human warmth. A place she never expected to see again after her father remarried. Her arrival is immediately soured by her stepmother, Hao Ningwen, who makes a grand entrance with crocodile tears, lamenting the sudden death of her husband. Chu Yao's simmering grief boils into anger as she confronts the woman for being so eager to discuss the inheritance before her father's funeral is even over. Hao Ningwen drops the act instantly, sneering that the Chu family never accepted her anyway, and she's just eager to see what other eccentric requests her dead husband made. Chu Yao seethes, recognizing the sly fox for what she is, but her stepmother cuts her off, threatening to clean her out of house and home now that her father is gone. With the battle lines drawn, lawyer Zhang begins the proceedings, explaining that since Mr. Chu died without a formal will, the law dictates his assets will be split equally between his wife and daughter. Hao Ningwen lets out a triumphant laugh, declaring her husband's death was worth it for this outcome, a statement that sickens Chu Yao to her core. But the lawyer isn't finished. He reveals that Mr. Chu once mentioned writing a will, and if it can be found, the entire inheritance will change. He believes it is hidden somewhere on the estate, igniting a silent, desperate race between the two women. Later, Chu Yao is slumped over a desk, drowning in company documents and the crushing weight of her new responsibilities. She feels utterly unprepared, terrified that her scheming stepmother will strip the family of everything while she's helpless to stop it. Her gaze lands on her father's favorite painting, a majestic white wolf under a full moon. Staring into its cold, beautiful eyes, she feels a strange sense of familiarity and finally understands her father's admiration for the creature's quiet strength. The next morning, as she heads to school, her stepmother watches from a window like a vulture, grilling a servant about her whereabouts and ordering the chauffeur to spy on her every move. Hao Ningwen is determined to find that will, vowing to tear the house apart if she has to. At school, Chu Yao's turmoil is compounded when she sees a poster of Lai Xian with another woman, but before she can process it, Liu Yu appears behind her. He rips the poster from the wall, insisting it's not what she thinks. He pulls her into his arms, declaring she's the only one he wants to kiss, but his advance is the final straw. Pushing him away with tears in her eyes, she calls him a bastard and runs off, screaming that she hates him. As she flees, she overhears other students gossiping about her father's death and her family troubles. Liu Yu, overhearing them too, instantly grabs her arm, telling her not to listen to them as he surrounds them both in a swirling vortex of wind. In a flash, they disappear, leaving the gossiping girls staring at an empty space. Liu Yu materializes from a swirling dark portal, holding a bewildered Chu Yaoyao who demands to know where he's taken her. He simply tells her to open her eyes, and as she does, she gasps in pure wonder at the sight of a magnificent aurora dancing across the sky. Stunned, she asks where they are, and Liu Yu calmly reveals they are in Iceland. The revelation hits her like a tidal wave. They traveled to Northern Europe in the blink of an eye. Overwhelmed by the beauty, she admits it's her first time seeing a real aurora and thanks him for letting her escape her sad and hopeless life, even for just a little while. In a moment of vulnerability, she confesses that she feels undeniably safe with him, an ease that feels natural and comforting. But her heartfelt confession is cut short as a flicker of murderous intent flashes in Liu Yu's eyes. He senses danger and violently shoves her aside just as the ground where she stood explodes in a shower of earth and rock. Enraged, Liu Yu demands to know who performed the enchantment, and from the dust emerges a trio of tiny, blue-skinned mountain elves. Their leader offers a bizarre greeting, which Liu Yu dismisses with a cold threat to turn them into ice sculptures for their little prank. The elf quickly apologizes, claiming it was just a misunderstanding, and expresses nostalgic surprise at seeing one of the Yao Zhu people on Earth. Just then, Ye Yao's phone rings and she steps aside to answer a call from someone named Big Brother Qin. After a brief conversation where she agrees to meet him by the school gate, she turns back to Liu Yu and asks if he can take her back. He agrees without hesitation, and after a quick goodbye to the strange elves, they are gone. Back at a lavish estate, Qin Manhua is waiting. Ye Yao introduces Liu Yu as her distant cousin, and the two men share a tense handshake. Qin quickly whisks Ye Yao away for a dinner reservation, but as they drive off, he immediately begins interrogating her about Liu Yu living in her villa. He feigns concern about a man and woman living alone, his words dripping with possessiveness. But his act is interrupted by a phone call he swiftly rejects. Seeing he's busy, Ye Yao insists on taking a taxi home, and he readily agrees, sending her off alone. The moment his car is out of sight, Ye Yao breathes a sigh of relief, muttering about how annoying he is, only to be startled by the two Icelandic elves appearing on her shoulder. She demands to know how they got there, and they confess they were forced. The younger elf Cell explains that the devil Liu Yu had ordered them to follow and protect her, threatening to send them to their god if they refused. Furious at being monitored, Ye Yao tells them to leave, but they plead, terrified Liu Yu will kill them for failing their mission. She reluctantly agrees to let them stay hidden for now. Her frustration, however, turns to sheer shock when she steps into her home and finds the entire living room utterly destroyed. Her maid Mei Yijia explains that the Mrs. Hao Ningwen brought people over who were searching for something. Ignoring the maid's warning that it's a bad time, Ye Yao storms upstairs, drawn by sounds of pleasure coming from her father's bedroom. As she forces the door open and is met with a scene of pure betrayal, her stepmother Hao Ningwen is in her late father's bed with none other than Qin Manhua. Consumed by rage, Ye Yao screams at her stepmother for defiling her father's memory, but Hao Ningwen is unrepentant, coldly stating that since her husband is dead, she can do as she pleases. Ye Yao threatens to take back her inheritance, but Qin smugly tells her to mind her own business. The betrayal cuts deep as Ye Yao confronts Qin, her voice cracking as she reminds him he was her father's best friend. Hao Ningwen shoves her out of the room, telling her she's in no position to judge. Ye Yao slams the study door behind her, and finally collapses in the hallway, her body racked with gut-wrenching sobs. Miles away, Liu Yu stares out into the rain, a feeling of unease washing over him as he wonders about Ye Yao. His worry is confirmed when the elf Cell appears in a panic, stammering that Ye Yao has had an accident. Not waiting to hear another word, Liu Yu vanishes in a vortex of dark magic, instantly teleporting to her side. Exhausted from her work, Chu Yao slumps over her desk, completely asleep when the enigmatic Liu Yu materializes behind her through a swirl of magic. His gaze softens as he gently touches her face before scooping her effortlessly into his arms. A flicker of annoyance crosses his features as his eyes catch a painting, but he dismisses it, refocusing on her as she stirs. Chu Yao's eyes flutter open in a panic, but Liu Yu soothes her, promising he'll take care of everything. He insists she rest, carrying her from the room while reassuring her that he is there. Elsewhere in a lavish senior club, a red-haired man kisses a blonde woman who calls him a devil for his advances. When his phone buzzes, he coldly orders her to fetch it for him. On the line with his father, his expression darkens upon hearing that Ye Yao saw something, and he vows to take care of it. The blonde woman realizes with dread that Chu Yao is now aware of the situation between her own father and Hao Ningwen. But the man scoffs, dismissing any concern for Chu Yao and telling her to focus on him instead. The next morning, Chu Yao awakens with a jolt, her mind racing with all the work she has to do. But Liu Yu is there, calmly informing her that he has already read and outlined all the reports she needed. Immensely relieved and grateful, she asks if he will accompany her to her meeting tonight. At breakfast, their meal is interrupted by Hao Ningwen, who sneers at Chu Yao and asks who her new boy toy is. With newfound confidence, Chu Yao retorts that Hao Ningwen shouldn't be so arrogant herself, then coolly orders 2 meals to go. Liu Yu's eyes narrow into a chilling glare, and a nearby cup suddenly shatters in Hao Ningwen's hand. She shrieks in fury, throwing a tantrum about her beautiful face as Chu Yao and Liu Yu calmly walk away, with Chu Yao thinking he is amazing. In the car, she marvels at the reports he prepared, astounded by his speed and insightful analysis. He humbly explains he just learns a little faster than humans and was pleased to be of service. To prepare for the evening's reception, they visit a high-end boutique, where Liu Yu changes into a sharp suit. When Chu Yao emerges in an elegant new outfit, he is visibly stunned by her transformation before they head out. On the way, Chu Yao steels herself for the challenge, knowing she must secure these investors to gain a foothold against Hao Ningwen in the company. They arrive and are greeted by a smarmy manager Wang, who immediately pushes business aside, insisting they drink first. As he relentlessly pours wine for Chu Yao, Liu Yu's expression becomes dangerously cold, and the glass in his own hand cracks from the sheer force of his grip. A moment later, manager Wang begins to choke and gag violently on his wine. As his colleague jokes about his poor tolerance, Chu Yao handles the situation with icy calm, impressing the other investor who quickly signs the contract. Victorious, they drive away from the meeting. In the quiet of the car, Chu Yao turns to Liu Yu, her heart full of gratitude, telling him she couldn't have done it without him. He leans in close, tilting her chin up, and asks with a smirk just how she intends to repay him. Hao Ningwen leans in close, his voice a low whisper as he asks Qin Muhua how she intends to repay him for his help. Just as the moment becomes uncomfortably intimate, her phone rings, providing the perfect escape. She pushes him away, declaring that she has to take the call. On the line with Secretary Chen, she learns of a sudden shareholder meeting scheduled for the next day to discuss the tricky relocation of the Zun Yuan project. Her expression hardens with resolve, knowing it will be a monumental struggle to get the board to invest in this venture, especially after their recent spending. Seeing her distress, Hao Ningwen cuts in, handing her an envelope filled with information he hopes will be useful. Inside are scandalous photos. He explains that he hired a private investigator to dig into Renishal's secret lover, a scandal that could critically damage the rival Chu group if it ever got out. He suggests that if they play their cards right, this dirty secret could be used to their advantage, leaving Qin Muhua in a state of quiet contemplation. The next day, the atmosphere in the boardroom is thick with tension as the executives grumble, wondering why the chairman is so late for this crucial meeting. They gossip nervously about the new head already taking on 3 major projects, adding to the pressure. Suddenly, the doors swing open and a man with striking red hair enters, apologizing for the delay. He stuns the entire room by announcing that Hao Ningwen has officially appointed him, along with Qin Muhua, as his agent and newest board member, expressing a desire for peaceful cooperation. An intense stare-down ensues between the newcomer and a shocked Qin Muhua, the unspoken challenge hanging heavy in the air as a mysterious red-haired woman watches from the shadows.